Everybody listen to We're Not Wizards, because we are the best, and we're not wizards, no matter what anybody says. Goodbye.
Wormholes board game review, AEG, Alderac Entertainment Group. This review is based on the final retail version of the game provided to us by the designer and publisher. We're not paid for this review. We give a general overview of the gameplay, and so not all the mechanical aspects of the game may be mentioned. There's a reasonable number of things going on in Wormholes from AEG. When I saw the game was designed by Peter McPherson of Tiny Town's fame, I kind of mistakenly thought that it was going to be a spiritual successor, a kind of spatial puzzle set in space. You get the idea. But these things are kind of concern me most of the time, as they can often end up looking like just a reskinned mechanical expansion. But Peter is a smart man, and I was wrong to assume that he would take such a simple route. This to me could be seen as a second attempt to keep me impressed and continue to make my eyes light up when I know I'm getting a chance to play one of his wares. Wormholes is like one of those vast video game RPGs without actually being a huge video game RPG. It goes from being the beginning of a video game RPG where you're trekking everywhere on foot to being one of those RPGs where you have vast control of the map and you can zip about places to your heart's content, jumping from wormhole to wormhole, visiting planets and ferrying passengers. Wormholes is like a vast video game RPG cruise ship of a game, except you aren't fighting against other people and meeting alien races. Wormholes is a pick up and deliver video game space journey RPG. There's really nothing like anything that I've said in the last paragraph, so I'm going to go home for a sit down. Goodness sakes. The thing with pick up and deliver, now the real thing with pick up and deliver, that is unless it's kind of keep the pick up and deliver bit is not the main thing, but is the small part, and they seem to be rather unexciting. Not boring, because that would be cruel, but having to go on a journey then have to repeat the journey and just simply drop off something can get a bit yawny. Wormholes has you trying to ditch the Star Trek exploring new worlds and new civilizations just to zip about the place like you're using the best kind of transporter instead. So you're going to spend your time placing numbered wormholes that connect space together so you can travel to different planets and either pick up or drop off passengers. You'll be gaining points when you do that, which is lovely. But what you really want to be doing is to setting out your navigation points with your wormholes to make the zipping stuff that little bit quicker. You'll have energy tokens that you use to pay for moving from one space to another, but if you're lucky, you maybe need to hit a special space in space which allows you free movement or zips you off in a straight line until you don't want to. If you do want to be really cheeky, you can use other people's wormholes to get around the place at the cost of giving the other player a free point from the supply. On the list, it gets to the point where giving points in order to deliver a wad of passengers is a worthwhile sacrifice. You gain passengers by visiting planets, which gives you random cards, or you can jet to the space station and you can take your pick of passengers that you want to be delivering to. It works like a default list of choice, and it removes the randomness that you get from picking from planets, but punishes you by potentially increasing the travel that you have to do in order to get back to the main space station. Wormholes ultimately is about control of fast travel and limiting the use of energy to get about the galaxy to deliver those passengers, and it reaches its crescendo at different points depending on the number of players. Even with a smaller map, the two-player game can often feel like your ships kind of passing in the night until you get to the point where you've laid enough wormholes on both sides to bring about the fastest travels. At higher player levels, the area of play expands, but there's more chance of meeting and interaction. Wormholes is always going to fare better in situations where the available tiles are taking up as quickly as possible and players are having to weigh up sacrificing the points they're giving for the payoff from passenger delight. There's a lot of thought going into how the game should work based on player count, so don't let that put you off. The main player boards are double-sided to offer a slightly different challenge than if you're playing with a lower player count. Tile powers add potential extra strategy to the game as you navigate around the system trying to work out the efficiencies. And I think you need to be playing with a group who want to get into each other's faces and force them to make errors in how they're planning their routes. The energy and card reminders are cute additions to the game to keep you correct, and the exploration stack is a wonderful way to track the different rounds as they play out and the planets are discovered. The game looks spacey and complements and works well with the theme. I feel there's quite a lot of little moving parts that you need to keep an eye on in order to get the best out of the game, and it wasn't unusual to have the rulebook sitting not too far away just to remind yourself of how the various parts of the bigger machine interacted with each other. There's a lack of immediate, I get it, that was present in Tiny Towns, but to compare the two probably breaks some hideous rule about comparing completely different gaming mechanics from the same designer. There's more depth than I expected, and it's a game that demands and ultimately benefits hugely from player interaction as quickly as it can be facilitated. It's pick up and deliver, Jim, but not as we know it.
A wizard is never late. Nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.